In the blistering 115-degree heat of Desert Ridge, Arizona, I told HOA President Karen one simple word she couldn't stomach. No, that single syllable turned my late wife's backyard legacy into her personal power trip, and the entire neighborhood watched her dig her own chlorinated grave. The pool had been the heartbeat of Sunridge Palms since my wife Becca sketched the plans on our kitchen table 12 years ago. She designed every curve, fought for the solar heaters, even planted the shade palms herself so kids could splash without frying. After she passed, keeping those filters humming and the water crystal became my quiet way of keeping her here. Every Saturday I'd skim the surface until it looked like glass, test the pH, top off the chemicals, all for free, all because neighbors still waved and kids still begged their parents for one more cannonball. Then Karen moved in, clipboard glued to her hip like a sheriff's badge, smile stretched so tight it could snap. She started small, the way they always do. A few suggestions at the monthly meeting about professional standards and liability reduction. Next thing I knew, she'd rammed through a vote while half the board was on vacation. Pool now official HOA asset. Maintenance privileges revoked for safety. I stood at the back of the clubhouse that night and asked, calm as the desert at dawn, since when does one new resident get to rewrite what my wife built with her own 2 hands? Karen didn't even blink. The bylaws are clear, Mr. Harlan. Community property serves the community, not one family's nostalgia. The room got real quiet. Someone coughed. I just nodded, because I'd learned long ago that silence makes certain people nervous. By Monday, a brand new laminated sign zip-tied to the gate screamed "Pool closed pending HOA approval." Karen parked her SUV across the street, pretending to scroll her phone while making sure I saw it. I walked over. "You serious?" She finally looked up, eyes glittering like she'd won the lottery. The board voted. Safety protocols, Ethan. We can't have just anyone dumping chemicals willy-nilly. I laughed once, short and dry. Funny, I've been the only one testing those chemicals for a decade. Want the logs? She waved me off like I was offering her a parking ticket. Submit them in writing. Form 14B due Friday. Wednesday, the shiny new master lock appeared, thick as my wrist, bolted through the latch with HOA funds, of course. Thursday, the fine started, $75 for unauthorized entry, another $50 for unapproved water testing, $100 for removal of official signage. I let them pile up on the kitchen counter like junk mail. Neighbors started crossing the street when they saw me. Karen's group texts painted me as the reckless single dad endangering children. One mom actually pulled her kid away from the fence like I was radioactive. I kept my mouth shut and started keeping receipts, every email, every photo, every timestamp. Then came the night I installed the 4 hidden cameras. Not out of paranoia, just pattern recognition. Karen had driven by slow for weeks, windows down, eyes locked on the filter house like it personally offended her. 2 nights later, the footage caught everything in 4K glory. Karen herself, flashlight in one hand, industrial strength shock concentrate in the other, pouring it straight into the skimmer at 2:17 a.m. She even wore gloves. Thought she was slick. The label on the bottle glowed under the IR light. Danger, skin burns, eye damage, keep away from children. Perfect. I saved 3 copies, backed them to the cloud, and waited. The Saturday she finally called the cops was almost poetic. I was brushing the tiles like always when the black and white rolled up, lights off, 2 officers stepping out with that tired, not this again look. Karen stood on the sidewalk, arms folded, voice dripping honey. "Officer, this man is trespassing on HOA property and tampering with community assets." I wiped my hands on a towel, smiled at the cops, and said, "Evening. Name's Ethan Harlan. Check the maintenance agreement on file with the county. Page 14, signed by the original board, including Ms. Whitaker here 10 years ago when she was still just a regular homeowner." I handed over the laminated original. The older cop's eyebrows went up. Karen's smile twitched. "That clause is outdated," she snapped. "We amended it." The cop didn't even look at her. "Ma'am, we'll need the filed amendment." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again like a guppy on dry land. "It's in the minutes somewhere." That was the first crack. The second came when I mentioned the cameras, installed under the very maintenance rights she was trying to revoke. The officers took my statement, glanced at Karen, and told her this was a civil matter, not criminal. She stormed off muttering about lawsuits. I went inside, attached one still frame of her midnight chemistry experiment to a reply-all email, hit send, and watched the neighborhood group chat go dead silent in real time. Crickets. Beautiful. The emergency HOA meeting 3 days later was standing room only. Karen opened with her usual sermon about safety and standards, voice syrupy, eyes hard. Certain individuals continue to put our children at risk, she said, staring straight at me. I let her finish the whole performance, fines, violations, necessary disciplinary action. Then I stood up, folder in hand, voice low and even. Karen, you keep talking about rules. Mind if we talk about the ones you signed? I slid copies across the table. Page 14. Donor oversight rights. Her own signature, 10 years younger but unmistakable, right next to Becca's. The room sucked in a collective breath. Karen's face went the color of cheap rose. That's ancient history, she hissed. We voted. County clerk says otherwise, I cut in softly. No filed amendment. Means the original still stands. And speaking of standing, I nodded to the projector. The lights dimmed. The video rolled. Night vision, perfect angle, Karen in all her hooded glory dumping poison like it was holy water. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone whispered, "Is that?" Another voice, louder. "She's the one who's been calling us about chemical imbalances?" Karen lunged for the projector, cord like a woman possessed. "That's doctored. He's stalking me." I didn't raise my voice. "Community space, Karen. Cameras are allowed under the clause you signed. Want me to read it again?" The board called an immediate recess. By the time they reconvened, 3 members had already resigned. Karen was temporarily suspended pending investigation. The county environmental health department showed up the next morning with real inspectors. Turns out her professional maintenance contractor was a shell company writing invoices to herself. Fraud, misappropriation, falsified reports, the whole 9 yards. 2 weeks later, the final hearing at county offices felt like the last scene of a movie nobody wanted to miss. Karen arrived in full armor, navy blazer, pearls, lawyer who looked 12. I brought the folder and the truth. When the chairperson read the ruling, my rights upheld, every fine voided, independent audit ordered, Karen removed effective immediately. She actually laughed, a brittle, ugly sound. "You think this is over?" I looked her dead in the eye. "For you?" "Yeah. For the pool. It just got started." Her for sale sign went up 6 days later. The moving truck left at dawn while the rest of us were still sipping coffee. No goodbye party. No farewell clipboard. Just an empty driveway and a neighborhood that suddenly remembered how to breathe. These days the gate swings open again every morning. Kids cannonball without looking over their shoulders. Parents bring snacks instead of side-eye. The water sparkles, the pH stays perfect, and every time I skim the surface I swear I can hear Becca laughing. The new board rewrote the bylaws in plain English. No more 10-page manifestos, just one line at the top. Respect the pool, respect each other. So tell me, was the real abuser of power the guy quietly keeping the water clean for 12 years, or the woman who poisoned it at 2 a.m. while screaming safety? True or false? The one who hid behind endless rules was actually the one who broke every single one of them. Drop your verdict in the comments. Who really got served the karma they ordered? Extra chlorine on the side.